Mayor and City Manager and Commissioners. My name is Dr. Noll. I'm actually from Valdosta, Georgia. Although I've been here many times before with my family, my children have actually played at the playground right down to the water. We've had quite a bit of pizza from Hungry Howie's. I've gone to Piggly Wiggly to do shopping. But this is a community I've known for a couple of years. I've had coffee here and I've enjoyed the good spirit of the individuals I've encountered during these moments as a tourist. Now I'm here as a concerned citizen from a community that has essentially gone through the same, we could say, emotional time not that long ago. And Dr. T, who sits in the audience, probably remembers me too, because he was there at some point as well as part of a panel of experts when we had certainly quite heated discussions. I want to keep it simple because the speaker that spoke here before me did a wonderful job analyzing and summarizing everything that I think needs to be said. But I wanted to make sure to say at least 2 or 3 things that may have not been mentioned before. This biomass plant that you are about to consider to build has a variety of risks attached to it. There are economic risks actually attached to it. I don't know if you're familiar by a publication that came out in the Wall Street Journal in October of last year, in 2010, called Biomass Confusion. If you go into the internet, you can simply put in Biomass Confusion and Wall Street Journal. It will tell you exactly how this supposedly good economic investment turns out to be quite the contrary. Because as it turns out, when you look at the amount of wood that would be needed in order for this biomass plant to run at full capacity, you will eventually run into issues with the resource. Eventually we'll have to go to longer distances to get to that resource, unless of course you're planting and growing it here in the neighborhood with the risks that we already heard about. So that many of the biomass plants that at some point being constructed actually went belly up because at some point the cost of fuel became too expensive, simply said. It's too expensive of an invention. When it comes to the health risks, there's still some people who maintain that this biomass plant is clean, green, particularly bolded in some presentations, or safe. It is not. There are thousands and thousands of doctors throughout this nation who have clearly testified concerning the dangers of particulate matter, nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and all the other chemicals that will be coming out of smokestacks. You do not have clean air come out of smokestacks. They're called that for a reason. You have in front of you basically a brochure that was put together by the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League, and White Activists for Clean Energy are a chapter of that organization, to basically give you a very concise access to the variety of testimony that was given by literally thousands of people throughout the United States in regard to the dangers of the pollutants that come out of the smokestack that you will have in a couple of years down the road if you allow this thing to happen. Now I have a question to the audience very briefly. If any of you have concerns about the biomass plant, or do know somebody in your family who has asthma or heart disease or cancer, would you please raise your hand or stand up? If you have any concerns about biomass and know about the dangers of folks in your family of asthma, please stand up. What I would like you to imagine is to do the following. Thank you. I had another, and I still have another, thank God, who was in the intensive care unit in Germany. This is why it sounds a little funny. I'm originally from Germany, but I've called the United States of America for more than 20 years, my home now. I visited her in the intensive care unit where she stayed for 6 weeks about 2 years ago. She had very, very severe lung conditions, and that almost brought her to an end. One of the reasons is that these lung conditions were coming back over and over again. She lived in a community that had quite a bit of air pollution. We finally, the 4 of us, we have 4 brothers, have persuaded her to move away from where she lived to a community that has clean air. Ever since she has been waking up every morning, enjoying her life, and she's 75 years old by now, she has been feeling like she's on vacation, like she can breathe clean air. I know this is a tough decision. I know you probably have made up your mind already for whatever reason it is, but I would like to look yourself into the eyes tonight when you look at the mirror, or look the people in the audience in the eye and tell them that there are no risks attached to it. We know there are. We will have more asthma cases, we will have more difficulties of issues of heart disease, we will have higher rates of cancer, like it or not. That is not worth it. It will never be worth it. One job will never happen, should never be exchanged for the life or the well-being of another individual. There are alternatives out there. If you go just a little bit further north from here in Gaston County, there was just the announcement made last week that National Solar will be building their 400 megawatt solar plant that will produce truly clean and green and renewable energy. We can do the same way too. I love this community. This is not a superficial statement because I've been here before. My son got his first big band-aid here because he fell at the playground at some point when he's playing. I've been here before. This is a wonderful community. When you go, you don't see even any billboards. I was almost unhappy about it because he wanted to recycle a billboard we didn't need anymore. But I like that fact that you're trying to keep the looks of Port St. Joe the way it is, and you should keep the air the way it is too. Keep it clean for your citizens, for your